I'm Scott Al Miller. It is the 4th of January 2023 and welcome to my vlog of daily life living in Nicaragua. Today's going to be a combined episode. We're trying a couple different things for you guys, trying to find the right mix of stuff, and I'm here at home recording in the garden. I have Mia running around and today is Wednesday. Still busy week doing catch up. My stuff of the day is pretty minor. Basically worked all day, enjoyed being at the house. The big thing is this morning, Paul and Dominica did their trip to Managua. So this is kind of, this is our daily thing, but this is how we do stuff, right? So they do a trip to Managua, normally about once a month. It could be more frequent, but it's about once a month, and do a really, really big restocking at the big stores there. Primarily, we're talking PriceSmart and Superporta, the things we can't get out here. For those who don't know, Superporta is a smaller non-membership grocery specialty store that basically ships in tons of stuff from the United States, but not just that, they also sell high-end stuff made here in Nicaragua. For example, some of the really high-end chili sauces, the vegan like hamburgers and stuff like that are not sold in the normal grocery stores. That is where you're able to pick them up. So things are more expensive there, but a lot of items that are not very popular and wouldn't make it in a normal grocery store, that is where you go. So Superporta, important one to know. They're in Managua, and worth checking out if you live here and are going to be buying things and you're like, man, I just miss this one thing. They may be the ones that have it. So we do shop there, but PriceSmart is the big one. And because we've been gone for nearly a month, really, and moved into a new house over a month ago, or got it over a month ago, we have a lot of restocking that we have to do of just all the basics, because we're out of everything, right? We're out of rice, we're out of eggs, we're out of, and that's not the stuff you get in Managua, we get that locally, but we're out of everything, right? We can't make food in the house, basically. So they did a huge run, and we do so much because we only have a Toyota Corolla. We used to do this in a van sometimes, but they actually went and use the car top carrier that we have now and put a cooler up there so we can fill that full of ice, and then they bring it back. And of course they brought that back, and we unloaded the car and everything's in the house. Like, we have to get the cooler down now. Like, it took 3 people at PriceSmart to put it on the roof. It's like, and Scott has to get it down all by himself. Yeah, that is the official plan of how to get it. Scott has to lift it off the roof, and the whole thing is packed with ice. But we got that. So we now are stocked with groceries, and it's really not a big deal, right? It's 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours into Managua. They go at a time that there's no traffic. They shop at, they know what times to shop at all the things. It's a huge shopping trip. You get it all, you bring it back, and you stock the fridges, you stock the pantry, and you're good, and you get pretty good prices, good quality stuff, a big selection, and of course you could hire someone to do that. You can make do without that, but it does save us money and allows us to have the variety and selection of things that make us happy, and especially with the kids, it's that much more important. But really big deal, PriceSmart is the place. You get salmon and a lot of other things. Almost all the restaurants in the country that do anything outside of the normal Nicaraguan fare, they go to PriceSmart. Everybody. Right? It is part of the ecosystem. I did mention on a video that PriceSmart was related to Costco, and it is related to Costco. Something like 30 years ago, I'm making up numbers, but it's in that ballpark, they were the same company. It was like they were separate companies, they merged and then they separated, and basically Costco operates as the Kirkland brand distributor in America, and PriceSmart operates as it in other places. They're extremely similar because they were the same place at some point, but they have diverged since then, but they sell the same in-house products. It's a weird, so they're kind of the same company historically, but they are technically separate now. So thanks to my members who pointed that out, that I was a little bit inaccurate on how I described that. It's very complex. Look it up on Wikipedia if you really want the details, but it's not actually Costco. You cannot use your Costco membership at it. It is a huge brand throughout Latin America. You can find it in many, many countries, and you get the Kirkland products, and basically everything works like Costco. So assume it's a Costco, but you need a different membership, if that helps. So they did that. This evening, Marcella and I are meeting with some of y'all, as we have 2 of you guys came in from, they actually drove in from, I think they started in California. I didn't actually get clear where they started, but somewhere in the United States, and drove a Jeep with a pop-up trailer all the way through Mexico, all the way through Central America, all the way down, came to Leon while we were not here, and then headed into Managua and been staying in Managua. But they wanted to meet us and talk about housing options, because Leon is where they think they want to be, and so or the Leon zone, and so they want to look down here. So they came down, and we all met at La Avenida for drinks and some snacks and stuff. So we got some nachos and we got some cocktails, and the four of us hung out for a while this evening, which was really, really cool. It was great meeting you guys. We had a really nice time and did a lot of talking about moving to Nicaragua and you know, what the housing market really is like, and how you know, just how everything works, what prices should be, what the expectations are. And real quickly, I'm just going to turn this camera around. Look how beautiful the cloud cover today is. So nice, and this tree is so beautiful. I hope these colors come through. I think the GoPro is pretty dark. I complained about this and I didn't do anything to fix it. So you know what? We're gonna play with that right this moment. I love how this tree looks, and standing here, the pink, purpley pink. So I'm colorblind, but the colors here are so intense with this beautiful gray sky and the green all around. It's like, whoa, it's this vibrant, saturated pink that's just so beautiful. So we're gonna adjust on here and see if we can make this look a little bit better, and we're gonna come right back. So this is a good chance to test the GoPro, and I'll be looking for your feedback when we post this. So be right back. All right, we turned it up just half a stop of adjustment, and hopefully it's gonna be a little bit better. For those who are wondering, this is the natural GoPro color on ProTune. We do not use vibrant. So if you're like, wow, these yellows, these pinks, these things, they're really, really colorful, that's what it looks like here. This is we're not using the flat profile and adjusting later, at least not right now. Sometimes I do, and I almost never use vibrant. I'm tempted to. Today would actually be a great day to do it. Let's see what this tree looks like now. I think you'll get a better view of it. This is just gorgeous, and the yellows over here, you can see them. It's just really pops. Being here in this muted gray sky just gives this gorgeous light that makes all the colors happen. Anyway, I got distracted by color, and so they're looking at moving down, and they had gotten a lot of really bad information online. Luckily, they had watched the channel and knew to potentially take it with a grain of salt, but they did some external research and got basically what was expecting, which was prices and information that was wildly expensive, completely out of line, and in no way what they were looking for. So we talked a bit about what they're looking for. We came up with some ideas, and our plan is probably tomorrow we're going to be busy. Tomorrow's Thursday, but on Friday they're going to return. We should be able to line up some places to go look at, and we're going to go look with them and see just what there is around town. And get a feel, you know, so they know what reasonable houses cost, what they look like, what their options are going to be, and then they can make decisions from there. And I think that's, you know, everyone asks, like, where do you start? And I'm always a little bit ambiguous on this because I feel a little bit ambiguous on it, right? I'm not 100% sure what the best process is. And of course, it always depends on what you're doing. There's no one single process for everybody that's perfect. But for most people, it's, you got to come down, get into an Airbnb, get into a hotel, something that's affordable and you can stay for at least a few weeks, and then track down a rental that makes sense for you, because you need to get here and know what you're looking for, right? Is Leon the right city for you? Is Managua the right city for you? What neighborhood do you want to look in? Do a little bit of deciding about that really quickly. Figure out how far it is to drive around. How much are you going to want to explore in different ways? I'm watching the ground a bit because the dogs go in the yard, and we do have gardeners who clean it up, but obviously not every minute, so I'm trying to be wary of like where I'm stepping, but I want to get some different views here in the garden today. And so you want to get down and investigate a bunch of that stuff, because it really changes everything. You really have to get a feel, because let me tell you, coming to Leon from abroad, I would never guess that I loved Guadalupe, but I absolutely love Guadalupe. I could live in downtown Guadalupe on the main road so easily. It's a gorgeous spot. I love the restaurants that are around. I love what you can walk to. I love how close it is to downtown. And I just love the feel of the neighborhood. I would never guess that from somewhere else. And you just have to be here. And certainly for a lot of my viewers, they'd be like, I don't like Guadalupe. So it's a unique thing in many cases to the individual. I prefer Guadalupe and Subtiava to most of the places in the city, but other people prefer Fatima in the north, or El Centro, and some people, of course, like Zaragoza and other regions. And just everybody has their own mix of things. La Borillo. So coming down and getting that feel, and then go around and look at places. Like, spend some time looking around. Don't put pressure on yourself to have to find something super quick, right? Prices here are low, you have time, and if you try to rush, chances are you're going to get ripped off. Whether you're just ripping yourself off by making a bad decision, that's possible, or people are going to take advantage of you and start quoting you prices that are double, right? And not necessarily quoting you like, so house X is, you know, they say it's 600 and it should be 300. That will happen. There's a lot less of that. Much more likely it's they find out that you say you have a budget of 800 and they interpret that to mean, well, I bet they're just saying that because they're moving from another much more expensive place. So if we show them an amazing place at 1,000, at 1,200, at 2,000, they'll take it. And so they'll push, and it happens to me every time I deal with someone, even if it's a seller's agent, they'll suddenly be like, oh, I have a great house that you got to look at. It perfectly meets your needs. And it'll be 8 times, if you remember, I want 8 times my budget. And they're like, well, we just thought you'd want to see it. Why? I'm not, we could have talked about this remotely. I'm not spending, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a month for something that doesn't even meet my needs. Well, we thought you'd have different needs once you got it. Well, that's fine, but we could talk about that and in 30 seconds make that determination. I have to go see it. And so, like, I don't mind people proposing things to me, like that's cool, but wasting hours of time with lots of people driving around and going places to do that I don't like. But so there's this really strong tendency to show things that are bigger, more expensive, in really expensive neighborhoods, and they may be nice places, they may be great places, but one, if you almost always, and I will say this in every video, right, if you're dealing with an agent, they're going to show you something wildly overpriced, right? And they will show you something that's probably fake. And so in this particular case, I know they were being shown a house that they were claiming was 5,000 square feet. I want you to really think about what 5,000 square feet is, compare that to houses in America, how outrageously big that is. And it was like a 4-bedroom. So what's in that 5,000 square feet? And why would you want a house of 5,000 square feet with only 4 bedrooms? I can see, like, I'm a person who can use unlimited bedrooms. I want a bedroom for video games. I want a bedroom for movies. I want a bedroom for office. I want a bedroom for storage, or a studio for the, like, I can use, you give me another dozen bedrooms, I'll find a way to use them. No problem. I think I hear rain. Oh, I feel rain. I'm getting just the latest rain. We're not in the rainy season. We're in the dry season right now, but we're kind of only a few weeks into it, so it still rains once in a while. We did get some rain yesterday from the time I'm filming this, and yeah, I'm getting just a few drips now from these beautiful clouds. It is nice out here. It is really pleasant. So I get, like, I'll use a lot of bedrooms, and I'd love them to be big, so it could be a bit of space. But when you have 4 bedrooms of 5,000 square feet, you could have 1,000 square feet, which is the size of a small American house, per bedroom. That the whole bedroom would be a house, 4 of them, and then have a normal American common space of a house in between those 4 houses of bedrooms. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that was not the actual size of the house. It was just a made-up number. And if it wasn't, it's insane. And the price was many times their budget. Well, not many times, a few times their budget. And so completely outrageous, right? Why would, and this was like the cheap thing. They had being shown all kinds of stuff that just made no sense. And that's just going to happen. And when you're dealing with the agents, what's very likely to happen is they're only going to show you things like that and be like, well, can't you afford the market? This is cheaper than the US. And you're like, well, I guess it is cheaper than the US, right? And so you'll be like, I guess I can spend more than I was planning, and not realize that there really are amazing things. So we're gonna go out on Friday. We're gonna look, and I think when we do that on Friday, I'm probably not gonna show the house. So don't be like lining up like Friday we're gonna see a house. I try not to show houses that people are looking at too much, but we're going to talk about it, and I'm sure we'll have some really good real estate information for you on Friday about that experience, because no matter what, that's going to be interesting. So stay tuned for that. My dog is being really crazy. I'm hoping that you can see what she's doing. She's jumping up and down from this big wall here and running behind the trees and chasing things. She's so funny. So that was our evening. We hung out, and I'm really excited. Oh, I can hear the rain really picking up. So we're going to head out of the garden and get under a roof here just before it starts pouring and I get caught. So what's really interesting, though, is how willing and able they were to pack up, throw everything in a Jeep, and head out. and came to Nicaragua sight unseen. Neither of them have ever been to Nicaragua. They're both travelers. They're both adventurous. So that part is pretty easy. Like, well, throw everything in our camper and just go. What if you hate it? Let's put it back in the camper and drive away, right? How bad can it be? Not so bad that you can't drive out, right? So, that's great. So they got to explore the whole region in this drive, but I really love that they just packed it and took this chance on Nicaragua and are coming down, and not just, for so many people I talk to, it's like even visiting Nicaragua is like, well, I guess, just getting out of the country is hard. And then this couple jumped in a car and moved to Nicaragua sight unseen. They said on this channel, right? So we'll count that as half seen, and came to Leon and are now house shopping on their first few days. They've been here for a few days, or for I think for a week maybe, but have pretty much just been in Managua, and it's exciting for them, for sure. This is a huge thing, but it's exciting, I think, for us to be like, wow, this is such a cool adventure that they're on, and so brave to do this in the way that they're doing it. They could have flown down and sampled for a month and then been like, okay, now we're going to drive. We figured it out. We're sure. We tested. They're just jumping in both feet, and it's exciting. And I think that this is an important lesson. Now, of course, this could go as a disaster for them, so we'll try to keep up on that. But I think this is an important lesson, because I was talking to some other people this week, and a lot of people have a lot of apprehension about moving. And I've talked about this in other episodes, and it's normal to be very apprehensive. What if something goes wrong? What if I don't know the process? What if there's just so many what ifs? And here's the reality in most countries. I'm not talking about a war zone. I'm not talking about some sanctioned place. I'm not talking about something like a remote island with no airport. We're talking about an incredibly technologically on top of it advanced country with great healthcare and safety and laws, and incredibly good infrastructure country with all the accoutrements you could reasonably want, short of having easy access to Peter Pan honey roasted peanut butter. I'm really bitter about the fact that we don't have that, by the way, just so you know. That's actually got to be my number one complaint of Nicaragua, is the lack of Peter Pan honey roasted peanut butter. Somebody thought they should put Peter Pan in the La Colonia, and it's not honey roasted. It's like they've never known Peter Pan peanut butter. Like, come on. Anyway, I digress. You have all these things. There's really nothing to fear in Nicaragua compared to any other country, right? And absolutely nothing to fear compared to most of the countries that people are looking at moving from, right? That's one of the biggest things, is that, and this could be true for a Panama, this could be true for an El Salvador, but in many cases, you're coming from a place that's got tax problems, you're coming from a place that has safety problems, you're coming from a place that is politically unstable, and coming to a place that is more stable, more safe, more straightforward with taxes, lower taxes, easier taxes, whatever. And so there's a tendency with humans, psychologically, to look at something and go, well, it's not perfect, so I'm not going to change from what I'm doing. And that's not a good reaction. The reaction should be, nothing's perfect. I should never be expecting perfect. I should never look for it. And if anything seems like it's perfect, I got to be like, well, it's obviously not perfect. We got to figure something out. What makes it seem that way? And what we should be saying is, what's good? What's better? What's best? And when comparing, if you could look at every country, you would say, well, what country's best for me? And it's very hard to do that, right? Because we just don't know enough about every country. But when you're looking at a selection of countries and comparing them to where you are, the question is, what's better? Is this better for me? Is this better for my family? Is this better for my safety? And if you find a place, and maybe Nicaragua isn't this for you, but for us, for example, when we looked at Nicaragua, is it best? Well, we actually think it is, given all of the factors that we have. But with all the things that were important, the really key question is not, is it best? Because how do we know? How do we know that Colombia isn't best? Well, we'd have to live there for a while and really work hard to determine. And a lot of those things are soft comparisons once you get to pretty good. But what was really important is that everything was better. The safety was better. The taxes are better. The stability is better. The weather is better. That one's a close one because it's really hot, but the stable all year long is worth a lot. The women's rights are better. The infrastructure is better. The internet is better. The cost of living is better. Wow, all those things were better. We didn't come up with negatives. Sure, the obvious one is living in the United States, we could drive to family without any barrier whatsoever, and here we have to go take a flight. So yes, it was easier, but what's our time to get home? It's almost break even, right? So the difference is we have to take a flight and orchestrate it and pay more rather than having to have a car and drive. But once you have the cost of the car involved, even that gets to be not as different as it seems. It's still better back home, but out of all the things, that's like the only one. And of course the Peter Pan honey roasted peanut butter thing that really made the US have something in the pro category compared to the con category, one is better or worse. So when you're looking at this stuff, keep in mind, as long as it's better, why not make the leap? Now, if you find something that's even better yet, go there. But as long as it's better, don't fear that better isn't better enough. Now, evaluate that. Is the effort of moving worth it if it's only a little bit better? Maybe not. For a lot of people, the effort of moving feels too much and the amount better feels too little. And they're just like, well, I get it, maybe it's better, but it's not worth it. I understand. But if you want to move somewhere, then you're already going to make that. So that's an assumed cost, an assumed overhead. And as long as you're moving somewhere better, feel relaxed. It's going to get better. And we forget that it's better. We forget that better means better. Literally, people forget that. And remember, and I've stated this before, I'm going to state it a lot, you aren't tied to where you go. Just because you come to Nicaragua doesn't mean you're trapped here. It doesn't mean you can't change that decision later. And once you've moved to another country, your ability to move to another country just gets easier and easier and easier. Every time you do it, it's like, I've got this down to a science. Actually, I want to move to other countries because I like the art of moving. I like checking out a new place. I like settling in until I get tired of it. That's a great way to live for a lot of people. Now, if you're a retiree, that may not be. But for a lot of younger people, it can be like, that's actually a benefit that I want to move around rather than just the settling down in one spot. So just all that. The fear of moving is real, but it's really emotional. And very rarely, especially in a place that's super safe and accessible and logistically easy as far as they can be, as Nicaragua and a lot of other countries, look at that, improving your life, taking a tiny risk. The risk is minuscule. What is the actual fear of something going wrong? And every time people tell me what their fears are of something going wrong, they're generally things that have never happened to anyone we've ever heard of. It's not like a reasonable, like, that's really wrong. And often it's that's not even a real thing, right? Sometimes it is, and it's just not very often, or it's not really a big fear. And that's the big one. Like, what if you weren't able to re-enter the country? What if they decided you couldn't live here anymore? Well, okay. I mean, that'd be super unfortunate. Right, I would be very, very sad because this is my home country now, right? So if I had to live somewhere else, but I would simply pack up and move to another country, very nearby and easy and simple, probably Guatemala, right? Which I've already visited and already know lots of spaces that I would like to live. Not what I want to do, not what I plan to do. That's not where I want to be. But the alternative to getting to live in my first choice location is that I get to live in my second choice location, and it's really not that bad. Yes, that sounds like a really scary bit of overhead. You're talking about not being, no. So keep in mind, I know of no one this has happened to. This is so incredibly unlikely, but this is a thing that people fear, and that's reasonable, and it should be. When you have major things like this, it's important to remember you are living in a place, and it is at their whim. They could decide that they don't want you to live there anymore. The U.S. kicks people out all the time, right? Now, other countries don't kick people out like the U.S. does, but they still can. And you have to consider, well, what if that happened? What if I lost the ability to live in my first choice location? In that incredibly unlikely scenario, do you have options? Yes, you have really simple, good alternatives. Most people struggle to pick which country they want to be in. So if you lose your first choice location, move on to your second. Is it good to have one ready at the, even when we lived in the United States, we always had that. And we would tell my father, right, here's our plan. We lived in Dallas, and we would say, if disaster struck and we knew something really terrible was happening, obviously not like weather event, but like a political disaster or a war was to break out, what would we do? And it was, we would be racing to the border to beat the traffic to get across the bridge into Mexico, the Rio Grande, to get across the bridge into Mexico. We would get to Mexico, and we would not really be in contact until we hit the first cities in Mexico. We would be up in north, contact everyone, let them know we're safe, and then make our way to Mexico City and make plans from there as we may stay in Mexico or may head south, possibly as far as Panama, right? We had all those plans in place when we lived in the United States. That's just a good thing to have. What if something big and political happens anywhere? Be ready, right? And in the US, that's a real risk, real risk, right? And getting out of the country is hard. You live in a small country, heck, I could walk to the border if that's how bad things got. Even if all the roads suddenly, like some alien laser beam melted all the asphalt, I could still walk to Honduras if I needed to do that, right? Like, there's just so many options here that are ready. Okay, so the camera died and I had to jump back in a day or two later to finish up this video. So sorry for the abrupt change, and I hate when that happens, but the GoPro 11 just overheats so fast. My gosh, it's frustrating, and keeping up with everything this week is hard. So I'm on the GoPro 9 again, trying to get these all up. So if you see 3 different amounts of light and everything, that is different sensors and everything. So at the end of the day, my point is not that you should be looking to jump country, that you need to have all these crazy plans. I mean, they're good to have, right? Do a little forethought. But my point is that the risks that people perceive, we feel emotionally like the risks are really big, when in reality they're very small. And what would you do? Well, you would do something inconvenient but not a big deal to deal with it. Oh, okay, so that wouldn't be an emergency? No, it would be inconvenient. I'd be sad, right? But not super sad. I mean, I'd be pretty sad, but it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be destroying my life. It would just be, causing me to have to make some changes in plans. But there's lots of places in the world that I would be okay living, and I will just go live in one of those if I have to. So get over that fear, right? All these things, like we're talking, especially when we're talking about Nicaragua, we're talking about a place that's probably not that far away. We're talking about a place that's culturally not that different than most of my viewers. We're talking about a place that speaks a language that's pretty easy to deal with. We're talking about a place that has a lot of people that speak English. We're talking about a place that's incredibly safe in general. Yes, the people snatching backpacks can happen, but overall, it's very safe. You have so many things that make life easy and safe and convenient and keep you in general protected, that you really don't need to have this wariness to moving down. You don't have to have all of your ducks in a row. You don't have to have all of your plans made. You don't have to have everything figured out ahead of time. Just get on a plane and come down, right? Make sure you have enough time to stay somewhere temporarily while you find an apartment. Make sure you're in an apartment long enough to find a house. Make sure you're in that house that you like, right? And don't worry about residency. Everyone worries about residency before they come. Don't even think about it. I mean, casually, can I get residency? Yeah, probably. Okay, good enough. Come on down, right? Come down, figure out if you want to be here, figure out if you want residency, do all of that from here. Don't worry about that ahead of time. You're jumping the gun. I mean, it's great to plan, and I'm not a planner. So partially this comes from, I don't need to do any of this planning. It's completely unnecessary. If you love planning, if you're a person who panics without a plan, okay, then do your planning. But don't do your planning because you think it's important that you have a plan because it's needed. It's for you, right? And that's okay. My wife's a planner. She would have to have all these things planned out. I am a perceiver. I'm not a planner. I actually have a problem having these things planned out. So keep in mind that that's the different way that we approach it. But her having a plan does not make this process easier for her. If anything, it makes it harder, because when plans change, and they will. So the United States is much more plannable. That's just a general thing. Nicaragua is much more seat of your pants. Doesn't make things harder. It doesn't mean that things are slower. It just means that they change. They're more malleable, and you need to go with the flow a bit more than you would other places where you have a tendency to make other people conform to you. So that is my advice on that. But most importantly, relax. It is not that scary. I know the first time you do it, it seems scary. Once you do it, you're gonna be like, that was not bad at all, and just make it happen. Remember, you can always go back. You can always go on to somewhere else. You are not locked in. These are not permanent decisions if you don't want them to be. That's a way to look at it. Make it low effort. Make it easy. Make it something you don't have to worry about. Thanks for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe. Ask your questions. Get down there. Put things in the comments. And if you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee. That goes directly to me and is a great way to support the channel. And remember to share on social media. Tell your friends. Let people know about the channel. Get some people who want to come explore. This is a great place to be. I will see all of you tomorrow.
Quería salir en el video. Hola, soy el mono araña. Ya salí.